we've got a lot to get caught up on, and what's happening right now in Congress will stimulate Build Back Better. This is your Build Back Better and Stimulate Check update. We've been hearing a lot from Congress as they are working away on Build Back Better, and I'm going to be sharing with you a clip from the White House Press Secretary Jen who responds to a report about the concerns about Build Back Better debt and inflation, and she lets them know that this is not going to be adding to the debt. It's fully paid for and will not impact inflation, according to several economic specialists. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you the video footage. I reported to you that the White House has hosted GM Ford, among other CEOs, meeting on the stimulus spending bill or Build Back Better bill. I'm going to be sharing with you a clip from that. President Joe Biden retired is exactly what we heard from White House Press Secretary Jen that this bill is paid for is going to be help American people with the stimulus provisions and will not add to debt and inflation. Now that's very interesting because previously we have heard from CBO and the Congressional Project Office that it was going to add into the debt, and we also heard that over the course of the 10 years, it could be adding significantly to the debt, which is why we have the Senator John Manchin say that he did not want to support this now. We will see maybe they are making more modification to the bill, as we have heard that we won't pass it in current state. Maybe they will change it to the point where it's going to add no debt whatsoever. I have the update from the Federal Reserve, who has announced that they are going to be increasing interest rates. Take a look, you guys. Federal Reserve pointed to interest rate hike coming in March. Let's take a look and go ahead. A woman asked, on inflation, many people believe that government spending is a big factor in the current inflation levels. Can you speak to concerns that spending plans that come out of the Build Back Better aren't paid for, and so could be higher deficit and more inflation in the future? Nancy Pelosi said, aren't paid for? Build Back Better is paid for entirely because there have been range of economists that say it's entirely paid for, and that has been priority for the president. It has also been concluded by a number of Nobel lawyers and experts from range of economic experts on the other side that it could not contribute to inflation. So those are the global experts that we could point to, but there may be others suggesting something else. But I don't know who those people are. Those bills to pass it will not raise taxes. It's something being entirely paid for means that part of that is the highest income Americans highest, that the companies could be asked to pay a little bit more that has been part of the proposal and part of reforming the tax system to make it more fair. It fully paid for. You could point to Nobel laureates and range of the global economists who has convinced that it could not contribute inflationary pressures. It is paid for, it's not going to be added to the debt, and there's no part of the Build Back Better that is going to now be paid for. And you also heard that it's not going to increase the taxes for those making under $400,000, according to White House Press Secretary Jen but there will be tax increases on the more wealthy people to help cover the expenses of this bill. So that's what we heard. Now, also, we heard from President Joe Biden, who held a meeting with 10 top CEOs to help get support for the stimulus reconciliation bill, believing that this will help to start our economy to even progress further, and that it will not hinder it with the debt and inflation. Let's take a look at a small clip from that meeting. President Joe Biden said, and that's just the start of Build Back Better plan. I say ours is going to even more in my view. Combined with hip infrastructure are making the biggest investment in clean energy manufacturing ever in American history. This is about here and now and in the future. All the Build Back Better plan is paid for. It doesn't increase deficit, and maybe the best news of all, it will actually help alleviate inflation. Fact that 17 Nobel laureates in economics say that the Build Back Better initiative worse its inflation pressures in the future is somewhat reassuring. The bottom line is a lot of folks refer to this as just the social spending. I see it, but I see this way. Build Back Better plan lowers prices for families and gets people working. Unconscious that when we invest, we can win and we can create a job for all workers here in the United States. That's what we intend to do in the current means. And I think that's what all of us can do if we invest in the climate change technologies now. If we wait, not only do the harm of climate, but we make sure that we are not the winner in the global competitiveness. Another can says, well, I think that's a very important connection. Mr. President, between the pieces of the Build Back Better and what the matter not just the Microsoft business, but to every American business. The truth is, all business is hugely dependent on the success of every part of the economy. We announced our earnings yesterday afternoon. I think they will have some positive effect on the market today. General Motors is committed to invest more than $35 billion to support electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles by 2025. Just yesterday, as I mentioned, we made an announcement to put $7 billion more into the state of Michigan for effecting 4 facilities, converting 1 plant to electric truck manufacturing, as well as 2 additional factories and then battery plant. A man asked, from the Federal Reserve, which is indicating it could raise interest rates for the first time in more than 3 years. The first hike could come in March. A move to combat historically high inflation. We expect to hear from the chairman of Federal Reserve just about this. Jerome Powell is scheduled to speak in about 30 minutes. Joining me now is NBC News senior business correspondent and MSNBC author, Steve Leeward. So Steve, raising rates in March sounded very clearly, so they don't shake in the market. Where's it gonna be? Jerome Powell said, we are going to get rate hike most likely in March, and we've been expecting this. All sorts of analysis has been saying it should be happened already. And while we know we are clearly in an economic recovery when rates are at zero, and that's when the economy needs help. That's when business need to raise loans so they can have the better, easier time borrowing. Well, they've got to do something because inflation is so high, and so why they said the biggest risk to economy right now are more COVID variant emerging in the coming months. Right now, one of the biggest problems is inflation. So they are going to be raising rates to come March, and hopefully over time that is going to slow down this very fast pace. We are seeing prices going up, which have no one happy, and is politically difficult situation for Biden. Exactly what I just said it what he's going to do. They are going to raise rates in March.